DLC.
I got early hands-on with the relaunch of MultiVersus, which is coming out very soon. As folks are listening to this, I put up a VOD for patrons at, again, patreon.com/DLCpod of about an hour of me playing with the game when I had access to it early. And we talked about MultiVersus a bunch on this show on its prior iteration, its open beta or whatever it was called for a long time. And they took it down. They took it back. At the time, there was no clear launch time for when it was going to come out. And since then, we learned they changed the engine. They moved it over to Unreal. They were adding PvE mechanics, and it seemed like really putting in a lot of work to make this game be what everyone thought it could be on the team over there. And it is a platform brawler, Smash Bros. Like, if you will, but with its own unique twist on it. It really tries to prioritize, in many instances, 2v2 fighting, where a lot of the characters have moves that are complementary to each other. It is a WB hero anthology of characters, Game of Thrones. Jason Voorhees was unveiled recently. Batman, Wonder Woman, Joker was shown not too long ago as well. Adventure
Matrix.
Time characters.
Yeah.
Yes. Tons and tons and tons of characters that I think make a really good hero fighter. Sony All-Stars was one from forever ago as well. In this transition to Unreal, I think is stunning. The character design I always thought looked good. It is up there, in my opinion, with Fortnite or Disney Infinity 3.0, with these characters that look great across IP. I mean, Jason Voorhees is like this tall chunk of a character and looks fitting in a game against Shaggy, but also still intimidating, in a really cool way, but also fits within this universe. Again, the same way I think Fortnite brings all these different characters together. And I think this game does a lot right now. It feels, and I didn't have old gameplay footage of me from before side by side as I was trying to experience it again anew, but the combat felt better. Hits felt like they had a little more weight to them in a way that I thought was really satisfying. Alex Solman and I on Feeling This, which again, patrons can find 2 seasons of already, and we're working on season 3, talk about how video games feel and what those moments feel like. And for a fighting game, things from the animation to the hitbox to a sound effect, all of that stuff is very important for, as a player, as an end user, just sitting on your couch or whatever at your PC, feeling like that was a cool hit. That was a heavy attack. That felt good. Or that was a light attack. That did what I wanted it to. And I think MultiVersus gets a lot of that right in this iteration. They also brought the camera in closer for a lot of the moments in the fight that I think really shows off the character models. The stages are really cool. There's environmental hazards that I think for this type of platform brawler make it interesting, where if you've watched the VOD, you will see I am not good at 1v1. Even during the beta or a closed press and influencer hands-on time, which is usually, Jeff, as you know, when I shine.
Yeah, that's your time to shine, is when there's almost nobody playing it.
Yeah, until like good people can devote hours to it. Then that is my time to shine. 1v1, I was not doing great. 2v2, my teammates and I, we were able to coordinate and I think lay the smackdown a little bit.
I think that's called being carried.
I think that's called hiding in a corner while your teammate does all the work. Call it what you want. I have a VOD to prove it. Look, Jason has never looked more terrified than when I played as him. But it's really cool to have those environmental, and Smash has done that as well with like a lot of the courses over the years. But F-Zero is always one that stands out to me. Is like the cars zoom on the track, they'll ring out a character or zone out a character, and I love stuff like that. I think these games thrive on chaos in so many ways. And I think seeing this stuff in MultiVersus is really fun and exciting. And again, it's stages across the pantheon of WB owned properties, which is a lot. And they look good, again, using the art style to convey the universe they're from. And they seem cohesive, but also you can tell, each one is from this property. This is Batman, this is Adventure Time, or whatever it is, but with this cohesive art direction. Really cool. The PvE stuff, which I thought would be the stuff that would bring me to the yard most regularly as this game goes public here in a few days, I guess by the time people are listening to this, unfortunately, I thought felt the most lackluster. I really loved the most recent Smash and its everything in the kitchen sink single player PvE mode. There was so much to do and so much to go through and work through. And I thought it was really rewarding as a solo player. And in this, you're going into these rift modes and kind of working your way through various setup fights that have a little bit of chaos to them with modifiers where this is going to, some projectiles will be tiny or you can't jump high, and kind of a roll of the dice for some of the levels, and you can tweak your, not a loadout, but kind of your character and how you want to approach it. But for whatever reason, while so much of the rest of the game, the core versus side of it, playing against another person online or in the room with you, felt polished, this felt to me rushed and missing moments of that quality that so much of the rest of the game had. It's a kind of a character with a text box that's like Harley Quinn sitting there and she goes, "Oh no, this gremlin," it's just reading a text box on like, "The gremlin took the core into this universe. We must go stop it." And then you do a computer controlled fight against one character, and then you move on to the next level of this rift, and now you're in a tank shooting little Joker balloons that just look like blown up versions of the balloon Joker uses as one of his moves, and like all of the feel that feels so good in the core 1v1 or 2v2 fight feels missing here. This kind of just feels like a blown up JPEG of the balloon that flashes when it gets hit instead of like a thing that is part of this world and part of this environment. And I think that's what bummed me out the most, because I think for me, that would be the thing that would keep me going back and keep me invested with a battle pass or a season pass and working to progress toward it. Because as this closed experience showed, I'm not good enough to kind of grind out those 1v1 wins. And I don't think it would keep me coming back long term. And I think that's the question mark this game still has over it, in my opinion, is how big the audience needs to be. That's kind of, we talked about for games, media, websites. How big does the audience for this game need to be for it to make the kind of money it needs to make, for it to be able to generate the continued content that it needs to generate for people to keep playing it day after day, week after week? And I think if you are happy to do that core competitive gameplay over and over again, or you have a group of friends that rally around and jump online or get together in your room every day and play, I think there can be a lot of fun there. But I think it's a smaller market than maybe this game needs to be. This feels, Rocket League is still popular, but you don't hear Rocket League nearly as much as you hear Fortnite. And I think that's because it's a competitive based game without much to do outside of that core competition. And that's where I feel like MultiVersus is right now. But I love the graphic style, and I think that core fighting could be a lot of fun for folks.
You can get the full audio version of this show by subscribing to the RSS feed, which you can find at dlcpod.com. And you can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/dlcpod, where you will get ad-free versions of the show, video versions of the show on demand, and a whole bunch of extra content, like Wednesday's show, paid DLC, including spoiler chats, so much more. That's patreon.com/dlcpod.